Have you ever stood at the top of your basement stairs, a chill crawling up your spine as you peer into the darkness below? You know there's nothing down there but old boxes and maybe a few spiders, but still, that feeling lingers. A primal fear that whispers of unseen things lurking just beyond the reach of the single flickering light bulb. Basements, for many of us, are more than just storage spaces. They are repositories of the unknown, shrouded in shadow and steeped in a silence that seems to hum with unspoken stories. Tonight, we delve into 3 terrifying tales of those who dared to venture into their basements and encountered the stuff of nightmares. These are the stories that will leave you sleeping with the lights on. Our first story takes us to a quiet, tree-lined street, the kind where children play hopscotch on the sidewalks and neighbors wave as they drive by. This is where the Harper family moved, eager to start a new chapter in their lives. Their home, a charming 2-story with a wide front porch, seemed to promise warmth and happiness. But beneath the surface of normalcy, a darkness stirred in the basement. It started innocently enough. The family, eager to unpack and settle in, decided to tackle the basement first. Boxes, remnants of the previous owners' lives, were stacked haphazardly, their contents a mystery waiting to be uncovered. Sarah, the youngest of the Harpers, found herself drawn to a dusty old dollhouse tucked away in a corner. As she knelt, her fingers tracing the faded paint, she noticed something peculiar. Behind the dollhouse, almost completely concealed by a mountain of boxes, was a door. Curiosity bubbled up inside her, a mixture of excitement and trepidation. She called to her parents, her voice echoing strangely in the silence of the basement. Together they moved the boxes, each one heavier than the last, until the door was revealed. It was a simple wooden door, dark and weathered with age. No handle adorned its surface, just a rusted latch that groaned in protest as they pried it open. A musty smell, like the air in an ancient tomb, wafted out, sending a shiver down Sarah's spine. The room beyond the door was small and windowless, the only light filtering in from the hallway. The walls were bare concrete, cold and damp to the touch, and strange symbols, seemingly etched into the surface with a sharp instrument, covered every inch. They were crude and unsettling, like the drawings of a disturbed child. Fear, sharp and sudden, gripped Sarah's parents. Instinctively they pulled back, ushering Sarah out of the room and quickly closing the door. The boxes were piled back into place, a feeble attempt to hide the unsettling discovery. That night, as Sarah lay in bed, trying to ignore the unsettling images of the symbols seared into her mind, she heard it. A faint whisper just at the edge of hearing, coming from the basement. She told herself it was the house settling, the old pipes groaning in the silence. But deep down, a seed of unease had been planted. The next morning, as Sarah made her way downstairs for breakfast, she stopped dead in her tracks. At the foot of the basement stairs, propped up against the wall, was a doll. It was a porcelain doll, dressed in a yellowed lace dress, its eyes blank and staring. Sarah had never seen the doll before, and it certainly hadn't been there the day before. Jake, a college student on a tight budget, thought he'd struck gold when he found a cheap apartment just off campus. Sure, the building was old and creaky, and the landlord seemed a little off, but the rent was too good to pass up. He brushed off the strange feeling he got when he first saw the basement. It was dark and damp, the air thick with the smell of mildew, and something else he couldn't quite place. Something faintly metallic. He avoided it as much as possible, choosing to do his laundry at the laundromat down the street, even if it meant carrying his clothes for blocks. One particularly busy week, buried under a mountain of textbooks and midterm papers, Jake found himself with no clean clothes and an ever-growing pile of laundry. The laundromat, with its flickering fluorescent lights and questionable clientele, held no appeal. With a sigh, he gathered his laundry basket and headed down to the basement. The single light bulb hanging precariously from the ceiling did little to penetrate the oppressive darkness. Shadows danced in the corners, taking on sinister shapes in Jake's exhausted mind. He quickly loaded the washing machine, eager to get out of the oppressive atmosphere. As he waited for the cycle to finish, he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every creak of the floorboards, every groan of the pipes sent a jolt of fear through him. Then he saw it. A flicker of light, faint and bluish, coming from the far end of the basement. It seemed to be emanating from behind a wall of old furniture covered in dusty sheets. Curiosity warred with fear in Jake's mind. He knew he should just ignore it, grab his laundry and get out of there, but the light, like a moth to a flame, drew him in. He took a hesitant step, then another, his heart pounding in his chest. The air grew colder as he approached the furniture, the metallic smell from before intensifying. He reached out a trembling hand and pulled back the sheet, his breath catching in his throat. There, sitting on a dusty old chair, was a flickering television set. It was an old model, the kind with rabbit ears and a curved screen. But it was the image on the screen that sent a chill down Jake's spine. It was him. He was staring at himself, sitting in the very same chair, his back to the screen. But how could that be? He was right here, standing in front of the television. As he stared, paralyzed by fear, the figure on the screen turned slowly, its face obscured by static. Then, in a blink, the television went dark, the bluish light vanishing as quickly as it had appeared. Jake stumbled back, tripping over a loose floorboard and crashing to the ground. He scrambled to his feet, his mind racing. He had to get out of there, now. The old farmhouse had stood on that lonely stretch of road for over a century, its paint peeling its windows like vacant eyes staring out at the world. To most, it was a place to avoid, a crumbling reminder of a time long gone. But to the Thompson family, it was home. They were drawn to its rustic charm, its sprawling porches, and the whispering willow that stood sentinel in the front yard. They were oblivious to the darkness that festered within its walls, originating in the depths of the basement. It started subtly at first, a feeling of being watched, a cold spot in the hallway, the sound of footsteps creaking on the stairs when no one was around. The family dismissed these occurrences as their imaginations running wild. But as the days turned into weeks, the strange happenings grew more frequent, more unsettling. It was during a frantic search for their beloved dog, Buster, that the family came face to face with the horrifying truth in the basement. Buster, usually a happy and energetic companion, had grown withdrawn and skittish since their arrival. He would cringe at shadows, whimper at the slightest noise, and refuse to go near the basement door. One evening, Buster disappeared. The family searched everywhere, their calls of his name growing increasingly desperate. Finally, with heavy hearts, they decided to check the basement, the one place they'd all been avoiding. The air in the basement was thick with the smell of damp earth and decay. Cobwebs hung from every corner and dust covered every surface. A single bare bulb cast long, distorted shadows that danced menacingly on the walls. As they descended the creaking wooden stairs, the family felt a palpable shift in the atmosphere. The air grew heavy, oppressive, making it difficult to breathe. They fanned out, their flashlights cutting through the darkness, searching for any sign of their missing pet. It was Emma, the youngest of the Thompsons, who stumbled upon the old trunk tucked away in a far corner. It was wooden, bound in rusted metal, its surface covered in a thick layer of grime. Curiosity, a dangerous companion in that place of shadows, got the better of her. She called out to her parents, her voice trembling slightly in the stillness of the basement. Together they heaved the heavy trunk open, the hinges groaning in protest after years of silence. Inside, nestled amongst yellowed linens and moth-eaten clothing, they found a stack of old photographs. They were portraits, mostly of families and individuals, their faces frozen in time. But there was something unsettling about the photos, something that made the family's blood run cold. The eyes of every person in the photos, every single one, were black, not just dark, but completely devoid of light, as if they had been consumed by some unseen force. As they stared at the photos, a chill snaked down their spines. The air grew colder, and a low, mournful cry echoed through the basement. It was Buster. They rushed towards the sound, their hearts pounding with a mixture of hope and terror. The crying led them to a small dirt floor room, its entrance partially concealed by cobwebs. As they approached the room, the crying abruptly stopped. The darkness of a basement can be a breeding ground for our deepest fears, a place where shadows seem to writhe and whisper, where the unknown takes on a life of its own. Sarah's encounter with the mysterious doll, Jake's chilling run-in with the basement watcher, and the Thompson family's terrifying discovery in the old farmhouse all serve as chilling reminders that some secrets are best left buried. Basements, with their cold concrete floors and musty smells, often serve as portals to the unsettling and the unexplained. What about you? Do you have a basement horror story that keeps you up at night? Share your chilling tales in the comments below, and let's explore the darkness together. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss out on another spine-chilling story. Sleep tight, and remember, sometimes the most terrifying monsters are the ones we create in our own minds.